We start this podcast with Jeremy Dutcher. He had his debut album in 2018. He went on to win the Polaris Music Prize and a Juno Award. He performed for National Public Radio Tiny Desk, which is a badge of honor. Collaborated with Yo-Yo Ma, Buffy Sainte-Marie, Beverly Glenn Copeland, and many more. He has a brand new album. The album was called Motewolonywok, and it was 5 years in the creating, writing, recording, and releasing, which tells you a great deal about his dedication and his focus on what he's doing. And it's the first album that he's released that he writes and sings in his own indigenous language and in English. If we revisit this interview in, say, 2 years from now, his star will have risen to a world level. He's just on his way. He's just making those first steps. Enjoy this interview with Jeremy Dutcher. This is a big deal to be talking to you on the day the album comes out.
So it came out last Friday.
Oh, was it last Friday? Okay, fine. But I mean,
yeah.
This is well.
I
I just know that all the releases come out on Friday. I saw somewhere, and I made a note to myself, and I misread it.
It's recent. It's super new though, and it feels like. I mean, it feels like for me from this side, it's like, oh, it's been out for a year and a half. But no, we've been sitting on it and making videos and kind of prettying up the release in a nice way and making sure that it's beautiful, because beauty is a very important tool to help hard messages go down smoothly. So we've been putting a lot of focus into getting this record to where it needs to go, and it's finally out in the world. It feels so good.
What was that last single that came out just before it released?
Oh yeah, that was called Motewolonywok, which means the people are rising, which is it's a really fun track. That's I think maybe the first bilingual Wolastoqey English song. So that's kind of exciting, it's like, and it flips right back and forth. So it's kind of, it was a trip to find the middle voice, a voice where it sounds like you still, even though you're in a different language.
How many years did you grow up in New Brunswick?
Oh gosh, I ran far away when I was 17.
17.
No, but I'm just joking. I love it there very much. My family's still back there.
My question is then, how much was music a part of your home? And secondly, how much of the storytelling from your people was contained in song?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's it. I mean, you hold the answer right in your question, which is always what a good journalist does. It was our stories come through our songs, and the how we are to be, comes through that song, and it teaches us a lot. And so I was very, very lucky from a young age to learn from a very important song carrier on the East Coast named Maggie Paul. And, I don't know if you ever heard about Maggie
I've
Paul,
heard that name many, many times.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm so happy to hear it, because she is, just really, not only for us as Wolastoq people, but, indigenous people, coast to coast to coast. She is, she's like our grand madame of indigenous song. And, specifically for us in our language, she's pretty responsible for ensuring that our songs survive.
See, that's it. And the language contained in the song.
Because they're so intimate, and as you know, so intimately connected.
Yeah.
Our songs are a great, tool as well for understanding our language. And I'm always encouraging our young people to sing.
Use
your voice.
Was it Maggie Paul who said you got to go show the young people how to love again?
Yes, that was exactly her. And I don't know if you've ever chatted with her before, but this is so exactly something she would say. These beautiful, grand, sweeping statements that the young people are forgetting how to love each other. And I guess our elders are so perceptive, and they're always watching the young ones and how we're relating to each other. And so I'm sure they believe, that rings true, when they look out and everyone's on their phones trying to be on, Tinder and, trying to find love this way. She's saying, they're forgetting how to love each other. So go sing this love song to the young people. And, our elders are always so instructive in their, in how they offer.
They can.
And so I feel, she guided that process.
They can talk, but we have to listen. We have to stop ourselves long enough to listen.
Yeah, I mean, I was, and I guess, because I've been going and sitting with Maggie since I was 8 years old. So like I was taught to listen.
Did Maggie know your secrets?
Oh, I am an open book. No secrets here. But if there were anyone in the world that would, it'd probably be her. Me and Mags go way back.
Was it inevitable that you would write and sing in both languages?
No, it was never a given. For me, the whole reason why I was making music and putting it out into the world is because there was such a dearth of Wolastoqey language out there. I wanted to be able to turn on the radio and hear our language. I wanted to go to Spotify and see our language on the chart. I wanted that. And so, in the wise words of Buffy St. Marie, if what you want is not on the menu, go into the kitchen, cook it up, and show them how good it tastes.
Yep.
I love that quote. For me, that was like my my North Star when I thought about creation, right? Because it's not just about criticizing what the lack is or what you don't see, but it's about finding creative solutions and offering something to that space. So for me, I wanted to do that in language. I always knew that because that's what I didn't see. I wanted to see more language out there. I wanted to be able to flip on that radio and hear it. And I did that with the first one, and I was very, very happy about that.
But the singing in English gives you an opportunity here
there we go.
To expand your footprint. That's just a term, but to expand your audience and actually, your messages that go with your language.
Yeah, and honestly, that's what it was. After the first record, because it was all in Wolastoqey language, but there was lots of not Wolastoq people that showed up and listened to it. It had a pretty sizable audience of people that had no literal understanding of what it was, but yet were curious about us and wanted to know our stories. And so for me, that presented an opportunity to speak directly to them in a language that would connect in a direct way to their experience and contextualize indigenous realities. But it also was about my parents too. My mother's indigenous Wolastoq and my father's non-indigenous. And so they would listen to my music in a very different way because she understands it totally. That's her first language. And he, and he says, it's great music to work to. I just put it on in the back, I just, and that's beautiful. But also I want to speak to him too, Stephen, my father. And so finding an opportunity to do that through the poetry of others, but also through my own words and through many different formats. Well. There's so much to talk about. We can't get it all in. However, the music
will try. The music will tell the story. You said after recording Ancestors Too Young that you had to go weep. Was it the clearing of the words from your soul? Was it the words themselves?
Yeah, what was that? I mean, a real purging of something. Songs are such a way of expelling and outletting things which maybe cannot even be spoken. And I guess this song particularly, I mean, you look at the title and it's kind of giving you all you need to know about what that song is looking at. But I remember, and it was actually, I remember it so clearly, like, because this song ends with a trumpet solo, and the trumpeter, Lina Almano, who's she's so incredible.
Yep.
We got her on this record, and I kind of explained this experience of grief, of, you know, of being in conversation with a mother who lost their child, and kind of explaining that story to Lena and saying, do you think you could just go play that? You know, do you think you could play her story? And it took her one take and she did that. You know, it was like, it's such and I hope people go listen to that solo at the end of Ancestors Too Young, because it is for me it's like that is an explanation of something, that is getting it out. And I'm doing that with my voice too in certain ways. I think there's colors and textures on that song that aren't really elsewhere found, which is a sign of, I guess, digging into different parts of your experience.
I'm sorry, this is not just any interview that I'm doing with you, any conversation. This weighs so heavily on my soul. But I want people to hear the music.
Yeah.
When I saw the title, sorry, I'm losing it here. When I saw the title, "The Land That Held Them," I thought of my years in Kamloops driving by that residential school. I went by it every week, driving somewhere every week, and I kept saying to my father and my mother, nothing ever. I don't see anybody there. Where are the people in that school?
Yeah.
And then of course the story broke much later, and the dark thoughts I had about that residential school all came true, and it still hangs with me. So,
I mean, anyone who has passed those spaces and places and felt the what has gone on there. Yep. I think that they have been shaken by that experience. And then this time, what's powerful about this time is we're all getting context now for that, because in our community we've known these stories of schools that didn't have playgrounds but had graveyards instead. That's the story that gets passed down in the fam.
But the Land That Held Them mentions the whole Red River. We can't tell the whole story, but did it come from your memories of tales you were told?
Yeah, I mean, this one, the Land That Held Them is, well, I always have to speak her name when I think about this song, because it was about the genesis of that, how I wanted to go about writing that. And it's actually a musical artist that means so much to me, named Nina Simone. Yep. And she wrote this song called Mississippi Goddamn.
Yep.
And it's such a truth telling and a history telling, and lifting up those stories outside of a headline and putting life into them, and really saying, God damn, But like for me, it's like, well, what about Winnipeg? Goddamn. What about Saskatchewan? Goddamn. What about, we have so many of those stories in our community up here too, and so that Red River is actually talking about the story of Tina Fontaine.
Yep.
And the second verse is calling in the name of Colton Boushie, and the third verse is actually talking about the victims of the Starlight Tours, and well, we don't need to get into all of that.
Thank you.
But people can Google what a Starlight Tour is, and they'll see that these are kind of sickening stories that become headlines, and if we just let them live there, then we miss the humanity and who they were. And so that song's trying to grapple with that, like the casual disregard of indigenous life, and trying to breathe some passion back into that and say, we will remember you, and this story is with us still.
I know.
And I've got. Yeah,
I know you've been living these songs and these words in these moments for a long time now. I'm just hearing them new for the first time. Where do I find my beauty in your music? Where do I find hope, Jeremy?
Yeah. Well, that's why that choir is there.
Yeah.
For me, when you listen to this record, there's I built
Sakam.
this choir of a sagam. Yeah, that really is it, you know. But they're woven throughout too in a song called Las Voltamontina and Together We Emerge.
Together We Emerge.
And,
that's the one. Yeah.
That choir is so present, and for me, they are the embodiment of community. And the fact that we need each other in those grief places, in those hard times when we're trying to tell heart stories, the importance of collectivity is utmost. And so for me, the hope comes through that. And every time I hear that choir come through the record, you know, for me personally, I hear my friends and the people that truly have lifted me up and supported me throughout my life, but you know, metaphorically too, there are that net and that support system that hold us, and I think, you know, we all have that in our lives. It's just identifying that and trying to honor that, and being vulnerable enough to lay it on them.
Jeremy, is I have too many questions. Sorry. Is Take My Hand a love song?
Of course, yeah, that one's a love song. But to who, I don't know, and I don't even think it's a person, if I'm being honest.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, that. Well, we sing to a lot of things, and for me. Yeah, of course we can hear that love song as just a love song between two people, of course, and I invite people to do so if that's what they want. However, you know, that song for me is I think a love song to our language, and you know, our language warriors and the people that are doing that work to protect our philosophies for the ones to come. You know. And it wasn't that when I started. Actually, you know, we were talking about Maggie Paul earlier. Yeah. She's the one that actually shared that verse with me. That first verse, "Take my hand and walk with me." She said, and that's when she said, "Go sing that for the people. Go sing that for the young people.
Shine on, shine on."
Yeah. You know, really pointing the way. But you know, one verse the song does not make. So I really had to put my thought and attention to crafting that verse into what became of Take My Hand. And it took a long time, to be honest. And it wasn't just me alone either. Like I had that verse kind of taking it around for a while. And I played it for a friend of mine, Basha Bulat, who's a singer-songwriter in Montreal. Yeah, she's amazing. And she was so supportive, first of all, and just like, that's a great song, you know. But then 2 weeks later, she sent me a video of her singing the song, and then she's like, I sing the song every day. I love it. Here's 7 verses of lyrics, because the whole time I was worried. I was like, you know, I don't really have, you know, the songwriting skills in English to give it a go, you know, and truly give what this song needs. But she was so generous. She was like, use them however you want, you know. I don't know if they mean anything to you, but this is what came out for me when I was singing this song. And it, you know, and I look at those lyrics now, I'm like, oh, it's so perfect. Like, it's so inspired, everything that she gave. So it's a real collaboration, that song, between an elder and a friend and my own music, bringing it together.
A couple of weeks ago, I was standing on stage at Massey Hall. I was co-hosting with Jeannie Becker for the Rock Hall of Fame, and we inducted 13 bands. And the last band to close the night, 3.5 hours after we started, was Parachute Club. And I interviewed Lorraine Segato and asked her about Rise Up, and had it changed from when she wrote it all those years ago, 25 years ago, and the words, do they take on new added meaning now? And we talked about that. So you have Rise in Beauty, and you've just set it in motion, just the baby steps. Brothers and sisters hold you with words and breath. Rise in beauty, Tahoe. So you've set this in motion now. Is it? Do they think there's a kinship there between your rise in beauty and their rise up?
I mean, just that word is so powerful.
It is.
And there's been so many great artists. I'm drawn to the poem by Maya Angelou comes to mind as well. Still I rise. There's so many beautiful messages about collectivity and coming together and lifting each other up that are perennial and that find their way through society and through many different communities of people. This one, that's the last song on the record.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, for me, it's hopeful and instructive.
See
that as we're coming up, and that as we're having this kind of revolution of peoples, that everyone's now at the table and we're hearing from each other in a way that we never have before. This is powerful, but also it has to be invitational, and we have to ensure that we're being inclusive in how we're doing that work and how we're coming up. And so and that for me that's where that beauty comes in, and to do it with grace and to do it in a beautiful way. I hope that's what the revolutions of the future will be, not so much war oriented, but oriented towards love and beauty, because I think that's in terms of what indigenous peoples and indigenous philosophies can offer to that human family in this moment. I think it is a deep engagement of the laws of peace and love.
Okay.
And so for me, this is what I wanted to invite people into with that final track. And you don't have to go much further than the string arrangements underneath by Owen Pallett to feel the beauty of what that poem is trying to express. Texture.
Now, how do you recreate? You can't bring the strings with you. You can't bring the 12-voice choir. How do you recreate that?
Oh yes. I mean, it's truly an impossible task, and so I don't even try. What I come to understand is that the magic that you can create in a recording studio, with all of the tools at your disposal, is a different kind of magic than what you can create on stage with a handful of musicians. And for me, there's no value judgment between either of those. They are different offerings. And yet I still believe in live music so much, and getting to do it at this level with these musicians that I'm playing with right now is it's just a treat for me. And so I get on stage and I enjoy myself every time, and I feel like that transfers over to folks having a good time too. So It is a different kind of sonic offering, but they are related and connected. And what connects them is that narrative, that language, that the stories we're trying to tell. And I think that this collective of musicians that we're working with in the live, they're coming from the kind of jazz improvisationalist space.
Yep.
And so it's a different kind of sound for sure. But I invite people to come and witness both.
Actually, I could, as you well know, I could see this being a symphony tour. Like you would take your charts and go to Winnipeg and Edmonton, Calgary, everywhere, Halifax, and work with their symphony orchestras.
You're reading my mind like steps ahead.
I think your challenge to yourself actually calls for that. You'll hold yourself to that promise.
I think so too. For me, I'm very lucky that I feel pretty musically flexible, that I can express in many different contexts. I've been doing, just before this record came out, I've been doing some solo piano shows and kind of getting back into that swing of things. And now doing this fall tour with the band. But absolutely, I can see this particular show and this album living really beautifully with the many, many, many fantastic orchestras across this country. With the first record, we got a chance to do that a little little bit, go around with the orchestras, but
Yep.
there's some major ones we didn't get to. So like the VSO. So anyway, there's hopefully lots of plans to come, and we'll be sharing this music for at least a little while. You know, this music industry can be really fickle and fast in how in how they move, and you know, I like to take a lot of time. This record took 5 years to build. The first one did the same amount of time. So, you know, I like to take it and offer it for a good amount of time. So I'm really excited to come not just to the big cities, but also hopefully next year to some smaller places in the territory. So yeah, come on out to a show. I hope people do. This is really where I have the best time. You know, that kind of direct music experience, and inviting people into that space, and having, you know, indigenous and non-indigenous people in that space sharing an experience together. That for me, it can be an act of healing, is to have those communities coming together in music. I'm excited to take that across and just see how it goes. And then who knows what's next. I don't plan too far ahead, but I'm enjoying the music for now.
I'll try to find you in Victoria during sound check. I'll come and say hello.
Oh, that would be great, Terry. I would really enjoy that. And yeah, I'm so excited to give that show, McPherson.
Thank you for your time. I particularly took personal delight in finding you and me on a shared connection. Love it.
Oh, this is a special one. I appreciate the thoughtful questions, and I look forward to chatting again soon. Take care, man.
Thank you. Now we come to the second interview on this Mulligan Stew podcast, and we do two at times because it works in relationship to an album being released or remastered. There's a headline that goes with. For Susan Tedeschi, the press release that everybody got said, the 25th anniversary edition of Susan Tedeschi's breakthrough album, Just Won't Burn, is available now on Fantasy Records. This special 16-track expanded edition features the original album plus 5 previously unreleased bonus tracks. Susan has said that making Just Won't Burn was pivotal in her career. It was her first solo album. She had not yet met her future husband, Derek Trucks, but they did end up playing on stage together. But surprisingly, in this interview, she says the real flame that was lit was when they went one-on-one basketball playing, and she beat him at one-on-one hoops, and that did it. That really nailed it, because they're both very competitive. Just Won't Burn did an amazing thing. She tells the story of getting a hold of her agents and her label and saying, how are we doing on sales? She expected about 60,000 in sales. She was told, you're not going to believe this, 600,000 in sales. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. And she went platinum, a rare achievement for a blues-based album at any time, and earned her a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist in 2000, along with Britney Spears, Macy Gray, Kid Rock, Christina Aguilera. It would be the first of 5 Grammy nominations for Susan as a solo artist. And then she did get together with Derek Trucks, and they became husband and wife and the leaders of the Tedeschi Trucks Band, a 12-piece, stunningly important band that is now world-known, famous all over the world. And they can play as long as they care. Totally honest in their music. No BS, no huff and puff, nothing. Straight up music. And the audience that goes for them. They're there. They're there to have 3 hours of music swept over them. It's fantastic. So, and one of the big success stories of modern music. So Susan Tedeschi, it all started right here for her. Her first solo album. Here's a conversation. Enjoy.
Hello. Oh, there's start video.
Where are you? There you are.
Hi. It says Bradley. That's funny. Wonder what says that.
By the way, I meant to show you this 3 interviews ago. The reason why I love what you do so much is because you remind me of Janis.
Oh.
And that's Janis and I. Backstage.
Wow. Oh.
But in order to get the interview with Janis, you had to drink with her. And I couldn't drink. And she would laugh her head off because I couldn't finish the interview. Very
Oh,
fun.
oh my goodness, isn't that funny?
Okay, in case you
It's funny
forgot,
you say
this
that
is
because I just got a text today from Yorma, and he always tells me that I remind him of Janis too,
there
because
you
they were
go.
close.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got a few people like that. Another one is a Bobby Weir. He's another
Ah,
one. Yeah. And Wavy Gravy.
that wavy.
He texted me yesterday too. It's so funny. They always stay in touch.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, Susan. I hope. By the way, is this the first uh, day you didn't have to drive anybody to school?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My kids are all in college now.
Yeah. Well, I thought even driving back to college, I thought maybe. Um,
No, my oldest is graduating from college in December. And
well,
my baby, she's down in Orlando, but she's in school still.
well done, well done, well done. Nice to see you, and I hope you're well. Um, let's get caught up, so then we can talk about Just Won't Burn.
Okay.
I'm thrilled that it's out there. Um, I applauded December the 8th, the Smithsonian Institute, you and Dave Grohl and Gloria and Emilio Estevan got the distinguished kind of award for areas of interest to the institution. American traditions dedicated their life to doing good. Um, did this come as a surprise? How did you feel
Yeah,
about this?
it was a huge surprise. I felt incredibly honored. I thought that they had the wrong person. But I feel incredibly thankful and yeah, I was really very surprised to get that call for that. And then of course Gloria Stefan and her husband are incredible and they obviously are somebody that should be chosen for that award because they have definitely made huge strides in music and everything. So I don't know. I thought I was a little surprised by it, but I was very honored and very humbled by it. And it was an incredible experience. And I loved getting to meet Dave Grohl too. He's such a sweetheart. And it was really cool to meet him. He was really down to earth. Him and his wife were both lovely. So yeah, the experience was mind blowing. I was only sad my parents couldn't come because I think my mom was getting a surgery at the time and or one of them, they just for whatever reason they couldn't make it. So that was hard, but it was very exciting.
I
My
mean,
son didn't get to come. One of my kids made it.
I don't know if you think back to the clubs that you played where no one knew who you were. You were just getting started, and there might have been 12 people in the damn room. You think about where you came from to get to that moment. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I still feel like I'm still back then. Sometimes I forget, where we've been and how we've gotten to where we are sometimes. It's all very humbling and at the same time it's really a lot of fun. I really am thankful that we get to play music for a living and that we get to do this
Oh.
job, if you call it a job, but it's awesome. And so um pretty blown away by that whole experience and
But
just
really, in the cold light of day, the music business, the entertainment business can eat its young. It's a nasty, nasty. It can be incredibly heartbreaking. You've made it human, which is a talent in itself.
that's amazing. Um, I guess so. I mean, I feel like it's a very human thing. I mean, music is very human. It really pulls us all together and it helps us work through our emotions and helps us deal with the things in the world too, having that creative outlet and having that intimacy with the audiences, and feeling people. So it's a really very beautiful situation for both sides. I feel like music is healing and we need that in this world and with everything we've gone through in the last 3 or 4 years we especially need it, and people know we need each other after having that pandemic. We need each other. It's important.
And it comes past the floodlights too, doesn't it? It spills onto the stage. They pull you along as much as you pull them along. That's
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Absolutely, we pull each other along.
Um, just won't burn. When the album came, do you remember the day the album came out 25 years ago? How excited, how nervous, how did you know what was, could you feel something coming?
I really couldn't. I think I was just so caught up in working nonstop and just being busy. And, but it's hard to remember exactly. That was a long time ago, 25 years ago. It's hard to remember exactly where I was and what I was doing. But I do remember making the record. And I do remember it starting to sell really well. And I remember getting some good feedback from the label saying, wow, this seems to be going pretty well. And then all of a sudden, about 6 months after it came out, then there was a lot of talk. And I was like, why, what's going on? And they're like, well,
yeah,
we were really excited to hopefully sell 60,000 records, but we had sold, they had sold 600,000 at that point, which was really unheard of for a blues artist, never mind for
totally,
any artist.
totally.
So it was very exciting. And I don't even know how that happened, but I think it was really right at the tail end of when the record industry and the music industry were in a different format than they are now.
Yeah.
Radio was very different back then. And there were still mom and pop record stores you could still go to and go shopping at Tower Records and all these places.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden, once it became digital, everything really changed. And I think for the worse, personally, but that's me. I'm old school. I like analog. I like records and things you can go and look at and figure out who's on the record. I don't like digital because you can't, you don't feel like you're as in touch with it. You don't feel like.
Yeah, that's for the first thing I want to know. Who's in the studio with her?
Yeah, where did they record this and where, with who and how? And yeah, you miss a lot of that personal connection with the bands and the musicians and the artists. So yeah, I feel like things have changed a lot since those days. So I feel like I was really lucky that I had success when I did. It was sort of the very tail end of when things were in that same format of music, but I feel really lucky that I get to still do it for a living. So that's
You
cool.
you won a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist for that album, first of 5 nominations. It might have screwed up. I don't know. I was thinking
Or 6 or 7 now. I think it's 6. I don't know.
What would have happened had you won that? That would have been just. By the way, while we're at that moment, the best musical moment that's happened, I think, in the last short span was the moment when Bonnie Raitt won those 3 Grammys. And she was surrounded by perfume and hair and boas and strings and bands and attitude. She came out with a guitar and she sang a song.
How about that? Well, Bonnie, she's a classic and she's an amazing artist. And it's so funny that she won a Grammy last year. And in the UK, they're like, this unknown blues artist. I'm like, what? How is she unknown? Like, what planet have you been on, people, first off? But second off, I mean, artists like Bonnie, she can cross so many genres, and she really can connect with so many people. But just her sound alone is just so classic and beautiful, and she's a great storyteller, and she got a gorgeous voice, and she's a beautiful person, and she talks normal. She's just down to earth.
She is normal.
So,
yes.
So people like her because she's amazing and she's a beautiful person.
We agree that she's an incredible person, an amazing artist, but I just love the fact that someone singing a song and playing a guitar commanded that stage.
Yeah.
And didn't need all the filigree. Didn't need all that.
She doesn't need the dancers and the lights and the hoopla. No, it's about music. And see, that's the thing too. When it came to the Grammys, even from when I got that first nomination till my last one, it has changed so much, just like what you're saying, a lot of it is more the look of it. And, that was one reason I never really made videos early on, because I didn't want to give into the idea that music is video, that it's, that it's visual. It should be visual in your mind, but not visual literally, if that makes sense. I feel like, there's so much put on that instead of put on the music, like what you're saying, walking out and just playing with a guitar and singing and captivating everybody.
Yep.
That's a beautiful gift. It really is.
Just Won't Burn. You got your masters back. What did you have problems with control over your career when you were just started?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I had support on some level, and I was with an indie label. The thing that was really hard for me was when I was really busy, and I wasn't thinking clearly. And they had offered me actually some stock in the label at the time, as well as the North Mississippi All Stars, who were also on my label. And the two of us should have jumped on that and done that. And because we didn't, we both kind of got screwed. And when I say that, it's because in my deal, I was supposed to have first right to buy my masters if they were going to sell,
Sure.
my stuff or whatever. Well, instead of selling it, they dissolved the company into another company and they kind of got out of it. So it was like a weird loophole. And
Yeah.
then I didn't have any control over it. I didn't have any control of those masters, or they took those masters and they made other like best of volumes and stuff. And I'm like, what best of? This just came out. Like, what are you doing? So there was a lot of stuff I didn't have control over at the time. And then when I did go back to buy the masters and I spent money to get them, I didn't even get physical masters. I still don't even have physical masters because they're like, oh, we don't know where they are. They're lost. I'm like, so it's almost like I had to spend money just to have the right to own the masters, for the licensing. But then it's all just such malarkey, at the end of the day. The industry is not set up in a way that really protects artists. And that's, in a way, that's what SAG-AFTRA is going through right now with actors. And I'm like, oh, good. Now actors know what it's like to be a musician.
There you go.
So you don't want people just taking your stuff and selling it cheap. Like they get upset about Netflix and these things. Well, it's the same with all of like the big budget places like Walmart and, in the old days, Kmart, and people, they could buy your stuff for cheaper, and then give you a smaller royalty rate. It's the same kind of stuff going on.
Let me, a scenario here. I mean, if Dolly can do a rock record coming out in November with Sting and Wilson and John Fogerty and Paul and Ringo and Frampton, Chris Stapleton, couldn't you do a country record?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could make a rock or a country record. I could make a punk record. I could make a gospel record. I can make a record.
Now you're talking.
And these are all things that I want to do someday. And I just have to figure out how to organize my time where I can prepare to do those things. That's the thing I'm learning.
Can I ask you about the covers? The Little by Little, Junior Wells, one of my all-time favorite tracks. Total. And it must be a joy to play.
Oh, that's a fun one. Yeah, it's definitely fun. It's really fun with Buddy. Getting to do that one with Buddy Guy sometimes. It's really fun.
Ruth Brown. I started the show last week with Ruth Brown. Mama He Treacher, daughter Mean. When did she ever sing that? From 1953. So was that one of your favorites?
Yeah, that was definitely a favorite one to play. And I was trying to do it. And I had seen her in concert back in the day. And I did get to see her perform that. And she does it more like a swing tune.
Yeah.
But then I decided I wanted to do it more like a Texas blues kind of thing at the time, back in the 90s, just because Stevie Ray was so big and I love Jimmy Vaughn and Stevie. And I just thought it would be cool to kind of give it that kind of a flair.
Hey, Susan, I went to Instagram and I saw a shot of you and John Prine, Angel from Montgomery. Did he tell you anything about the song that you didn't already know?
Well, it was really sweet because I told him, I was like, I'm really sorry I messed up your words. I always sing it backwards. If the lightning and the desire, I kind of have them a little, I don't know. I thought I kind of sang them backwards from the original, but he was very sweet and said somehow that was his favorite version of it. Was my version. Yeah. So I was like, are you insane? Because that doesn't make any sense. My favorite version is you and Bonnie doing it together.
Yeah. And it's been covered a lot. Now, on your originals on the album, You Need to Be With Me, I Found Someone New, Looking for Answers, Just Won't Burn, and Friar's Point. Love Friar's Point. 16 tracks in total. So the bonus tracks, take us through the bonus tracks, because you wanted to add stuff. Didn't want to do just the album as people knew it.
Exactly. So we did find some old tapes that had, they weren't the masters, but they were some other old tapes from back then when we recorded it. And we had a version of Looking for Answers that was more of an alternative version.
Yeah.
And so back then I was sort of diving into like more like that indie rock, grunge, Seattle kind of stuff. And so that's where that version of Looking for Answers was sort of coming from. And I had this friend, Mike Levesque, who is a great drummer, also from Boston, and his friend Norm Demora, who we used to call Screaming Bird of Truth or something like that. He had some silly name. But the two of them were the ones that actually came up with these alternate versions of these songs. So Looking for Answers and Waste of My Time. Now, Waste of My Time is originally a country song, more like a John Prine kind of a song. And it really sounds more like a John Prine song, but then the free version that's going to be on this one is more like the alternative kind of more grungy version.
I congratulated you and Derek on the whole idea of going into New York and not just playing 1 or 2 nights, but staying for 10 days or 2 weeks or however long. You got a mini vacation. You were already set up. Your sound check is done. You can record. You can have guests. It's the way to go. You don't beat yourself up, and you get recordings.
Well, yeah, that was great. It is, but you know what? Those are actually a lot more work than you realize because for our band, we don't repeat songs. So if we do 8 shows, we do 8 shows with all different songs. So that's at least 80 to 100 songs in 1 week.
Okay.
And if you think of it that way, it's not easy.
All right.
Okay. So if it's us doing a residency and we're old and we're doing the same repertoire, but our band isn't like that. So it's actually a lot of work. So that's why this year we're not doing the Beacon for 8 nights. We're doing 1 night at Madison Square Garden.
Okay, well.
And 1 night at Boston Garden. But that's just because I need a year off. And next year we'll probably do longer residencies again. But you just can't keep up at this pace all the time, and it's also fun to, make it a celebration and do something a little different and see, what can come out of it. It'll be fun.
A time frame here, if you will, Susan. Album came out February 98. There's an Instagram photo of you taken in 2000, you and Derek standing side by each. You're such babies. I can't believe that shot. And I think Eric Krasno was in there as well. I mean, I'm looking at you thinking, you have no idea what's going to happen to you too, or did you? Do you remember that shot? And do you remember?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think we knew at that point, no, because that was 2000 and we didn't get married until 2001.
Yes.
And, so we didn't know what the future had in store for us, especially the two of us being as busy of the musicians that we were, and still are.
Where was the spark?
Well, there was a spark right away. And the spark was the things that we had in common.
Yeah.
It was almost like, here is a musician who can finish my sentences as a singer. He can play it on a guitar, which that's very rare. And he had a lot of music that I really was pretty blown away by, that he was listening to, and he liked some of the stuff I was listening to. So we both had blues and gospel and a lot of the, similar artists in common that we enjoyed, but also something that's very rare for musicians is we both love sports. And so that was sort of a big thing that we connected on too. And we're both very competitive people. So we work really hard, but we were playing 1-on-1 basketball against each other when we met.
No.
Oh yeah. Like, it's just so much fun. And he's a really great athlete. He's actually really good at everything, not just music. He's just good at everything. So anything he tries to do, if I can beat him at it, then I feel like I must be great, which I don't really beat him often at anything, but he's, we had a lot of things in common that we definitely connected on. And so I'd say music as well as sports, believe it or not.
I noticed you were saying that you were uncomfortable or you weren't really interested in doing videos, but there's a couple of videos coming out today, if I'm not mistaken. Looking for Answers, live at the Beacon, and Voodoo Woman. Where did also at the Beacon?
Yeah, so Voodoo Woman is not from the Beacon. Voodoo Woman is actually a recording that we made during the record. And so that was an original master.
But as a video?
No, the video, I don't know what they're sending out for videos.
Yeah.
So they're videos that people, that my team has probably put together and made it fun and creative. But honestly, it's not like I went and made a physical video for them.
Thank you. You and I, the last time we talked, it was all about actually a two-parter on I Am the Moon. What was the journey like? And was it as all-encompassing as I thought it might be?
Yeah. Oh, actually, quick, I got to go back to the last question real quick.
Yep.
And that is because I did just recently film some content where I play by myself and play some of those songs from the past. So it could be that video that they're releasing. Okay. But I don't know if it is because, I just don't know the timing on all of it.
We'll play it for the folks out. They'll find out. So
but as I Am the Moon was incredible. And obviously we were in the pandemic and we weren't allowed to tour, but we were planning to take off. So we had worked right up until March 13th.
Yeah.
Derek had played Madison Square Garden March 10th, and then March 12th, we played at the Beacon for God's Love We Deliver, which is a benefit. It's sort of like a Meals on Wheels in New York City benefit show that we had done with Jackson Brown and Cyndi Lauper and like all these different artists. David Letterman was there. It was just a really a great charity. But then we thought, oh my gosh, we're going to have to cancel this because COVID was really starting to become a major thing that everyone was finally aware of. So on the 13th of March, we flew home. And then when we got home, we were on the phone talking with our band and talking with Mike Madison about touring and about how we weren't going to be doing that and how, maybe we should dive into, writing, let's keep up, like let's Zoom like you and I are right now, like with some of the band, and let's just keep the conversation going. And instead of, not doing anything, like let's stay busy, keep our minds busy, keep our creativity going. And so it was Mike's idea. He had been listening back to the record we had just made, which was the whole cover live record of Layla that we made with Trey Anastasia and our band, as well as some guests, which was the entire Eric Clapton, Derek and the Dominoes Layla record. Well, once he started really, that he's a Harvard grad and something about him, he just has to go in and look at, maybe the storyline or what point of view is this? And he was like, well, all of these songs are really coming from one point of view. Like, what if we dive into the original poem, Layla Majnun, who, is sort of the Romeo and Juliet kind of poem from the 12th century. And we basically all dove in and he had us all read it and try to use it as inspiration to think of it as like, what about Layla or what about somebody else's view of what was going on?
And then you took that and converted all of us to that same storyline and the music. And what a journey that was. It took forever. Yeah. It took a long time to actually unfold the way it did. I want to ask you about tours, Tedeschi Trucks. Will we see any Canadian dates? Any talk about a Canadian date?
There is talk about Canadian dates. Well, we just played Toronto recently, and that was fabulous. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the people were awesome. And I do think that there is talk. I think possibly for next year. I don't know yet, because as I'm looking here, I don't have those dates. Nothing is solid, but there's definitely talk about it. So I can see us coming back up to Canada for sure.
Do you have any other solo wild tracks that you might put together as a follow-up?
I do have some other old fun tracks that I could possibly do as a follow-up.
Do you have a Pine Top Perkins recording?
Yes, I am on a Pine Top record.
All right.
Yep, I'm on a Pine Top record. I'm on a Little Milton record. I'm on the John Prine record. I'm on the Willie Nelson record. So I definitely have been guests on some of my favorite people out there and have recorded with them. So I would like to figure out what kind of record I'm going to do next. I don't know if it's going to be with this band and that'll happen next, or if I need to get on it and do one of these fun kind of, a country record. like you were saying. I've been thinking for years, my grandfather wanted me to do a country record. And recently it just keeps coming up. And I think it's going to be time. I need to just put my head together and just like get it straight and like get some ideas and just do it and book it, because that would be fabulous.
And I'm rapidly running out of time, but I need to know about Tedeschi Trucks music plans. What have you recorded? Have you had time to record and write?
Yeah, so no, Tedeschi Trucks Band has been busy working. We have been working nonstop, and we actually are getting ready to go out this weekend. We have a show in Wilmington, North Carolina, and then we play 2 shows on the Outlook Law Tour with Willie Nelson. And then we have our garden parties, which are going to be at the end of the month in September. And we'll be doing Madison Square Garden and Boston Garden. And then we're going to be playing in Japan for a short period of time. And then come back to the States and do a couple of private stuff with what we call our fireside lineup, which is basically the core of the band. It's not the entire 12-piece, but it's more about 7-piece. And we have a few shows there. And then we'll have some time off. And I think that'll be a good time to figure out and make a plan for making a record.
If you have time, I know I'm running out of time, but if you have time, you should go fishing. Where did you catch that trout that you're holding on Instagram?
Oh, I caught that up in England when we went and did the Jeff Beck tribute with Eric Clapton.
That's an incredible trout.
Thank you.
Did you catch it on the fly? On the fly?
On a fly, yeah, fly rod.
Well done.
Thank you.
This is where I live. This is a number of years ago. You can row for salmon.
Whoa, those are
the one on the left is 44. The one on the right is 48.
Whoa, now that's a big fish. That's double the size of my trout. Trout was like
the size. It's just the experience of doing it. I want to thank you for your time. I know others want you. I will play this album and I'll tell them the story.
Thank you so much. And honestly, I'm just so blown away that this is still doing so well and that people are excited about Just Won't Burn, because it has been so long, and it's just nice to hear that people are still supporting the record and are excited for it and to hear the new stuff. So I'm excited for that, and it's gonna inspire me to make a country record. So don't you worry, I'll get out there, get to work.
And I want to live long enough to see you in the full-blown Tedeschi Trucks configuration do a halftime show at the Super Bowl.
Let's go. Look at the Jaguars when we're in there.
You got a Canadian quarterback that you got to take care of at the Jags. Take care of him.
Oh, okay. We'll work on that.
He's on the practice squad. He's on the practice squad. Nathan Rourke is his name. Nathan Rourke. He's going to be a star. Watch him. Nathan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Keep my eye out for him. Well, thank you.
Thank you, everybody involved. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Lovely to see you again on Mulligan Stew.